Shalom and welcome to this week's Torah Portion commentary on Lech. It amazes me how many people in this world struggle to believe that God could manifest himself in the flesh through his Son, who is the Messiah. It especially amazes me that Jewish people, like myself, who believe in the Hebrew Scriptures, struggle to believe that God could manifest himself on the earth in the flesh. Well, this week's Torah portion addresses this very issue of how God manifests himself on the earth. We're looking at Genesis chapters 12 through 17. This is the story of Abraham. And God made many promises to Abraham, including to bless him and to give him a child through his own body. Well, it is at this point that we're reading about Abraham and Sarah in Genesis chapter 16, and God had not yet given them a child. So Sarah had the idea that Abraham should have a child with their Egyptian handmaid, Hagar. And Abraham agreed, and they went forward, and Hagar became pregnant. But soon after Hagar became pregnant, Sarah didn't think it was such a good idea anymore, and she treated Hagar harshly, and Hagar fled from her presence. Now, the story continues that Hagar sat down by a well as she was journeying back to Egypt. She sat down by a well, and it says that the angel of the Lord met her there, found her there, and he spoke with her. And he told her to return to Sarah. He also told her many things, many prophecies about the child in her womb, who would be Ishmael. Now, after the angel of the Lord left, we read these verses in Genesis chapter 16, verses 13 and 14. Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are a God who sees. For she said, have I even remained alive here after seeing him? Therefore the well was called Be'er Lachai Roi, which means the well of the living one who sees me. Now, Hagar clearly states that this angel of the Lord who met with her is the Lord himself. This is clear from this text. Now, it's interesting that this phrase, the angel of the Lord, appears about 54 times in the Hebrew Scriptures. This is the very first time it appears in the Scriptures. So we have the angel of the Lord appearing to a woman, and it seems clear from this context that the angel of the Lord is God himself. Now, I want to look at one other example in the Scriptures of the angel of the Lord and how he manifests himself on earth to man. We read in Exodus chapter 3. Now, this is Moses. Moses was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law Jethro in the desert. And Moses was about 80 years old at this time. And it says that the angel of the Lord appeared to him in the burning bush. And it says this, I'm going to read Exodus chapter 3, verses 2 to 6. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, yet the bush was not consumed. So Moses said, I must turn aside now and see this marvelous sight, why the bush is not burned up. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. And then he said, Do not come near here, remove your sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. He also said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Then Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. So again here in this scenario with Moses, we have the angel of the Lord who appears in the burning bush. God himself speaks to Moses from the burning bush. And he says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it says that Moses turned his face away so as not to look at God. We have a clear contextual evidence. We have clear contextual evidence again that the angel of the Lord is God himself. Now, if God has chosen to manifest himself on earth through the angel of the Lord, once to a woman in the form of a man, as we understand it, and once to Moses in the form of a burning bush, a bush that is burning but is not consumed, why should we be surprised that God manifests himself through the Son of God in the form of man? To me, it does not contradict Scripture in any way. In fact, it confirms the Scriptures as we have them. The angel of the Lord throughout the scriptures, in context, is seen as God himself. There are some times when it's not, and that's clear from the context as well. Listen, I've given you a very brief overview of my commentary on this week's Torah portion. I want to invite you to read my full commentary on my website, jewelsofjudaism.com, under the title, The Angel of the Lord. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it on YouTube, and feel free to share it with others. Thank you for watching, and as always, Shabbat Shalom.